less than 3 people. Let's get sworn in. I know it's 7 o'clock, but we're waiting for a couple more people to join the call, the Zoom meeting. So it'll be another minute or two.
And Jeanette Phillips. Okay, I'll just tell her that. Let's just go.
Hopefully it'll just be another minute. Thanks for your patience.
Okay, it is 7:04 on Monday, January 4th, 2021, and I would like to call this organizational meeting of the Mayfield Village Council to order. I believe we are still waiting for maybe one or two of the people who are being sworn in to dial in tonight, so Mr. Thomas will let those people in as they dial in. This organizational meeting of council has been duly noticed and will be held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22. specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency. House Bill 197 amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine and Director of Health of Ohio, and pursuant to Ordinance 2020-08, adopted March 16th, 2020, Council will be meeting remotely via electronic means. No one will be in council chambers or able to access that space during the meeting. The public is invited to view the meeting and can access the meeting through a link posted on the Mayfield Village website at www.mayfieldvillage.com. Mayfield Village will conduct these proceedings in compliance with all applicable state laws and regulations. Mrs. Betzel, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Here.
Mr. Marquardt,
Here.
Mr. Myers,
Here.
Mrs. Mills,
Here.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Mr. Schott,
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mayor Bodnar,
Here.
Mr. Coyne,
Here.
Mr. Nguyen.
Here.
Thank you, Mrs. Betza. Our first order of business tonight is to administer the oaths of office to our prosecutor, Mike Cicero, and our engineer, Tom Capello. Mr. Cicero, you are at the top of my heap tonight, which is not unusual. So first, I want to thank you for your many years of service to Mayfield Village as our prosecutor, and again, for your willingness to sign on for the next term to continue to serve us. Mr. Cicero, if you will raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I, Michael E. Cicero,
I, Michael E. Cicero,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the state of Ohio,
of the state of Ohio,
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
in my position
in my position
as prosecutor for Mayfield Village,
as prosecutor for Mayfield Village,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. I look forward to working with you again, Michael. And I believe you probably received via email your oath of office. If you would just print that out, sign it, and get it back to Ms. Wolgamuth, and we will take it from there. Thank you again, and you are now excused from this evening's meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of council. I very much appreciate it. Have a happy.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, next, I will be administering the oath of office to our returning engineer, Tom Capello. I'm looking for you on the screen there, Tom. You're there somewhere. Anyways, Tom, you have served this community very well for many years, and we thank you for that, and we look forward to working with you for this next term. Thank you for signing on again and putting up with all that we throw in your direction. Tom, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Thomas Capello,
I, Thomas Capello,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the state of Ohio,
of the state of Ohio,
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
in my position
in my position
as engineer for Mayfield Village,
as engineer for Mayfield Village,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Tom, thank you for your continued service. Again, you received your oath of office. You should have via email. Just sign that, get it back to Diane, and we'll take it from there. And you are officially excused from the rest of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
New Year.
Okay, so my next order of business was going to swear in members of the Architectural Review Board. Is Mr. Trinner here this evening?
I am.
There you are. And Mr. Verelman and Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Gentlemen, I'm going to swear you in all together as members of the Architectural Review Board. But first, let me thank Mr. Trinner and Mr. Verelman for their past service on the Architectural Review Board. Your input has been wonderful, and we thank you for your service, and we're grateful that you are signing up again. And Mr. Phillips, you are a brand new member of the Architectural Review Board, so we very much appreciate your stepping up to the plate and becoming involved in Mayfield Village. So
Thank you.
we look forward to your service. Okay, if you gentlemen will raise your right hands, we'll do the three of you together. And when I say just state your name, state your individual names. Okay, I state your name,
Hi, Matt Phillips.
hereby solemnly swear
Hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of
State
Ohio,
of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village,
Mayfield
Ohio,
Village, Ohio,
in my position
in my
in
position
my position
as a member of the Architectural Review Board,
as
as
a
a member of the Architectural Review Board,
to the best of my ability,
to the best
of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so
long as I hold such
position,
so help me God.
so help me
so
God.
help me God.
Congratulations, and we look forward to your service on the Architectural Review Board. If you also would print out the oath of office that was emailed to you, sign it and get it back to our Director of Administration, Diane Wolgemuth. We will take it from there. Thank you again, and you are now officially excused from the remainder of tonight's meeting.
All right, have a great night.
Thank you, you too. Mr. Purcell, you are next. I know I saw you on the screen. There you are somewhere. So we welcome Mr. Purcell back on our Board of Appeals. Joe, how many years have you served on the Board of Appeals now?
It's got to be at least a decade. I'm not really sure. I'll let
That's
you know.
a lot of time. We thank you for your service and your commitment, and we're glad you're willing to sign on for more. So, Joe, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Purcell,
I, Joseph Purcell,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
in my position
in my position
as a member of the Board of Appeals,
as a member of the Board of Appeals,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Joe, and welcome back. If you also would sign the oath of office that was emailed to you and get it back to Ms. Wolgemuth, we'll take it from there. And you are also officially excused from the remainder of the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Tarkowski, I saw you somewhere.
Hi, good evening.
There you are. Okay. So you are up next. We welcome you back, and we welcome your dedication and service to the Civil Service Commission, and thank you for signing on for another term. Greg, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Greg Tarkowski,
I, Greg Tarkowski,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
in my position
in my position
as a member of the Civil Service Commission,
as a member of the Civil Service Commission,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you, Greg, and welcome back. If you too would sign the oath of office that was emailed to you and get it back to Diane, we'll take it from there. And you're also excused from the rest of tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, we will be swearing in Mr. Jim Kless. Is Jim on board tonight?
He is not.
He is not. Okay. Well, if he chimes in at a later moment, we can come back to him. But for now, then, we will move on to our next order of business, which is the election of President of Council for this calendar year 2021. At this point, I would like to open the floor for nominations for Council President. Do I have a nomination?
I nominate Steve Shutt, please.
Okay. Okay, so Patsy nominated Mr. Steve Shutt and Mr. Al Myers seconded the motion. Very good. Okay, are there any other nominations for Council President?
I make a motion to close the nominations, please.
Okay, seeing that there are no further nominations, Mrs. Mills has made a motion to close the nominations. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was the second? Danny, was that you? No,
It was Al.
it was Al? Okay, thanks, Al. All right, Mrs. Betzel, may I have a roll call on the motion to close the nominations?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt. Mr. Marquardt,
You're muted.
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes.
Okay, the nominations are closed. At this time, we will take a vote on the nomination of Mr. Steve Shutt for Council President. Mrs. Betzel, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Shutt is unanimously elected as our council president. And I must say that I'm very much looking forward to working with you again this year, Steve. So at this time, Mr. Shutt, if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Stephen Shutt,
I, Stephen Shutt,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
of Mayfield Village, Ohio,
in my position as council president
in my position as council president
for Mayfield Village,
for Mayfield Village,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations again. I know that you did not receive an oath of office via email, so I'm sure Mary Beth will prepare one and get one to you, and we'll take it from there. So at this point, I relinquish the gavel at the only point in time I ever hold it at this organizational meeting. I relinquish that to you, Mr. Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Budnar. I appreciate it. I look forward to working with you as well. And I also want to thank my fellow council members. I appreciate your support. It's an honor and privilege to serve as Mayfield Village 2021 Council President. So I look forward to another successful year. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for nominations for Council President Pro Tem for 2021.
I nominate Al Myers, please.
Second. Are there any other nominations? May I have a motion to close the nominations for Council President Pro Tem?
Motion to close the nominations.
Second. Mrs. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. May I have a motion to elect Al Myers as council president pro tem for 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes.
Oops. At this time, I would like to administer the oath of office for Council President Pro Tem to Mr. Al Myers. Al, I look forward to working with you this year as Council President Pro Tem. If you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Alan Myers,
I, Al Myers,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
that I will support the Constitution and statutes
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and statutes of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and statutes of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances of Mayfield Village, Ohio.
and the Charter and Ordinance of Mayfield Village, Ohio.
In my position
In my position
as Council President Pro Tem
as Council President Pro Tem
for Mayfield Village,
for Mayfield Village,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
for so long as I hold such position,
for so long as I hold such position,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Myers.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Al. May I have a motion to approve the calendar of council meetings for 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve council committee assignments for 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. Are there any other matters that come before council?
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting, please.
Second.
Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. The meeting is adjourned at 7:23 PM. Today is Monday, January 4th, 2021, 7:23 PM. Welcome to the Mayfield Village Council Caucus meeting. This meeting has been duly noticed and will be held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197, amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine and the Director of Health of Ohio, and pursuant to Ordinance 2020-08, adopted March 16th, 2020, council will be meeting remotely via electronic means. No one will be in council chambers or able to access that space during the meeting. The public is invited to view the meeting live and can access the meeting through a link posted on the Mayfield Village website at www.mayfieldvillage.com. Mayfield Village will conduct these proceedings in compliance with all applicable state laws and regulations. We're going to move along to pending legislation. We have 8 ordinances that are coming up for second read. First is ordinance number 2020-33 entitled, an ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1519 Fireworks. Are there any questions?
Council President Shutt, this is the Law Director, Tony Coyne. I would just like to mention that there are 4 amendments to certain fire code provisions in the village, and they're addressed below on the agenda. They're obviously going to be read. There are 2 more readings, but if there are any questions, they really involve cleaning up some of the code sections to make them consistent with the Ohio Revised Code. The next item, 34, amends Chapter 1383 relating to annual inspections for fire suppression systems and fire suppression equipment and alarms, that they be in accordance with the Ohio Basic Building Code. And we also have an amendment which expands the number of designees from the fire marshal to the fire chief to do inspections for code enforcement. And then Chapter 141 is amending just to identify what the lawful ages are for those who desire to be firefighters on the fire department. So I just thought I'd mention those are all on the agenda, and we redrafted those. But if there are any questions, and council certainly could call me separately, but I just wanted to let you know that those changes are all being made.
Okay, are there any questions on these 4 ordinances? Since Mr. Coyne outlined those, we'll move along. Ordinance number 2020-37 entitled, an ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance Chapter 749 Recovery Costs for Emergency Actions. Are there any questions? Ordinance number 2020-38 entitled, an ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance Chapter 971 permitting to alarms. Are there any questions? Ordinance number 2020-39 entitled, an ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance Chapter 1501 Ohio Fire Code. Are there any questions? Ordinance number 2020-40 entitled, an ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance Chapter 1522 Building Marking Systems. Are there any questions? All 8 of these ordinances will be moved to 3rd reading for February's meeting. Next up is Mayor Bodnar.
Thank you, Council President. I have no comments for tonight other than to wish everybody a very happy new year.
Thank you, Mayor Bodnar, and Happy New Year to you as well. Next up, we have some birthdays. We have Doug Metzung. His birthday is on January 10th. Happy birthday, Doug. Happy birthday to Tom Capello on January 16th. And happy birthday to Councilman Bill Marquardt. His birthday is on January 23rd. The next regular meeting of council will be held virtually on Tuesday, January 19th. Next, we have the clerk of council report.
Yes, I received the save the date for a virtual quarterly forum scheduled by NOCCA at 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 28th. Cuyahoga County's Mr. Simeon Best will speak about census impact on local municipalities. And as soon as I get further information on it, I will let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Betzel. Next up is administration. Mr. Nguyen is going to report on behalf of administration.
I have a couple items that will be submitting for approval at the council meeting. The first one has to do with purchase from Tech Communications, not to exceed $24,000. Our phone system and equipment are through Cuyahoga County. We made that switch back in 2009 at significant savings versus paying the carriers directly. And the county's informed us that there are certain upgrades required to some of the routers in the system. I believe Jeff Thomas provided you with a memo about all the changes that are needed. The tech communications is picked by the county, and it is a state pricing contract. And the cost of that improvement is included in our 2021 capital budget. And then the second item is for all covered, or also known as Konica Minolta Business Solutions. They're the company we've been using for years to provide all of our monthly backup services and data recovery for all of our systems. The cost of that is $840 a month, or right around $10,000. And then you generally submit a request for $15,000 because there are some services we require them during the year that aren't part of the regular contract. They bill us at $150 an hour, and usually the $15,000 is more than enough to cover all their services for the year. Any questions on either of those two items?
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Next is Finance Department, Mr. Nguyen.
Okay, first item is a request for building inspector services not to exceed $36,000. Back in 2000, the village has always had a part-time building inspector up until 2015, and when the part-time inspector retired, we made the decision at that point in time not to hire a part-time employee, but to handle those services on an independent contractor basis with a gentleman by the name of Anthony Carbone, who's a retired building inspector. He's been doing it ever since then, and wishes to continue doing it. We request $36,000, about $3,000 a month. He charges $45 an hour, and we typically on an annual basis, the costs are only between $25,000 and $30,000. But we do request $3,000 a month just to cover it. Second item is Everstream. Everstream is the company that provides our internet services for all of our village functions, and also all the maintenance required on the fiber ring on Bader Drive. We have a 5-year agreement with them for that. This is 2021 will be year 4 of that 5-year agreement. And the cost is $18,966. And the pricing was fixed for all 5 years of that agreement. And then for legislation, we'll have the first two items are, the typical budget legislation that'll be passed in March, but we're putting it on here now so we have it on in title only for the first read. One will be for the 2021 expenditures budget, then the other will be for the 2021 revenue budget. And then the third item is, we did this last year and we'd like to continue doing it. We made the decision last year to go with govdeals.com as an auction site when we wanted to sell village assets that have been deemed to be retired and approved to be sold. It's proved to be a good way to get rid of the assets on a competitive basis, and it's we realize a lot more money out of that, handling it that way versus just advertising in a newspaper. So we'll again be submitting legislation authorizing us in 2021 to continue to use govdeals.com to auction off our assets that have been approved for disposal. Any questions on either of those three items before I get to the last item? Okay, the last item is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. It's a federal law put in place in response to COVID, and the main purpose of that act during 2020 was for the protection of employees that were required to take time off of work because they either came down with the virus or they had to stay home to take care of a family member or were experiencing symptoms of the virus. And the act required all employers, public and private sector, to provide up to 80 hours of paid leave in any of those situations, and they were not, and no employer was to take that 80 hours against the individual's accrual banks, sick time, vacation time. And And to help fund that, the government, on the private sector, the government provided tax credits that the employers will take on when they file their corporate tax returns. And on the public sector side, the CARES Act money that public sector employers receive could be used to help fund the cost of those 2 weeks leave. That expired at the end of 2020. There's talk of it being renewed in 2021, but nothing specific has happened yet, and nothing was addressed about it in the most recent stimulus bill. So in the discussions we've had with administration, our desire, and this is we'd like to get some comments from you this evening, is for the village to extend the terms of that 2 weeks through the end of March. We would, anybody who has already used the 2 weeks would not be eligible for that paid 2 weeks again. They'd have to use their own personal time for that. But we'd like to be able to continue to offer that to the employees should they contract COVID in the next several months. And at this time, it would be funded by us, not funded by the government, because we're not aware of any further dollars coming to us at this point in time.
How many employees have used it?
I'd say probably 20 to 25. And we had a cost of primarily, and the employees that primarily used it were police, fire, and dispatch, and the cost of that was about $60,000 last year.
Okay.
Yeah, in some cases, it's an additional expense to the village because when somebody has to take the time off, we fill that with somebody else, so we're paying overtime for that individual to step in and fill that slot. If it's a non-overtime, if it's a position like in the service department or a non-union position, there's generally not overtime involved because there's nobody to backfill that spot with, and it's just handled with the existing staff. So even though on paper was $60,000, the actual out-of-pocket cost was not that high.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments regarding that? Tony, I would ask you, I mean, if we move forward with this for an extension of 3 months, is that something that you think would require official council approval at the council meeting?
I think a motion would be appropriate for that.
Okay.
Should we, do we need to cap the amount at all? Although we say it's, it would be approved through March, do we have to have a limit as far as cost?
Related to the CARES Act too, some of it has to be available to all the employees. So it's difficult, I would think Ron would agree, to put a cap on it. It's 80 hours is what was originally proposed for CARES.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that 80 hours is a one time. After that, they use their vacation time or
That's correct.
their own
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And if somebody had to use the 80 hours last year, if they had to take time off again, not for themselves, but to take care of another individual,
family member.
they'd still have to use their own time for that also.
Okay.
So if there's no objection, then our plans will be to put that on the agenda for the council meeting for a motion to approve that extension.
Good.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Nguyen?
One more question, Ron. I mean, if the government does come back, I know you can't speculate, but ideally it would be retroactive anyways, I would imagine, so we could take advantage of those tax credits, I would think.
Yeah, it would be tax credit. In public sector, it would have to be additional funding that they would give the municipalities and states to help cover the cost of these items. So.
Sure, and I haven't been following it too closely, but I would imagine it would get extended, especially in the recent spikes and everything. So.
Yeah, the talk is that it's going to be extended, but nothing official has happened yet. So.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Next is Mr. Coyne for the Law Director report.
Yes, good evening again, members of council. There will be some resolution for you to consider regarding the no smoking on village property ordinance that we're going to have introduced. This is really an update of the old Clean Air Act. You know, the ordinance needs to be updated, partially repealed. If you recall, you know, it used to be that you could smoke in designated areas of public buildings, but that's been superseded by the Ohio Revised Code. But this will provide for no smoking on village property. So it will go through the normal reading process, so there will be plenty of time to comment on it. We also received a request a bit ago from the owner of the property where the Georgian Medical Arts Building is located, and the property in front of it that, as you know, is subject to rezoning and is also subject to a development agreement. There's been a request for an extension of time for certain activities that the property owner and developer is to do for the surgery center that is being contemplated for that location. Specifically, they're seeking to postpone when they start the traffic study, also when they're to apply for their conditional use permit and site plan and any variances that they may need, as well as the start of construction. Tom Capello and I talked about this. We also conferred with the village's traffic engineer. Because of COVID, there's just a decline in traffic. So some of the traffic engineering data is not very accurate, many parts of Northeast Ohio. And because of COVID, it's likely that the project is going to be delayed for a period of likely a year. So what they've asked for is for the traffic study not to be completed until July 19th. And they wouldn't really file for a site plan review, preliminary review or CUP until July 19th as well. And it's their hope that if things go right, they'll be able to start construction by November 19th of 2022. So these are pretty close to a year extension of what was in the original development agreement. So you'll see a resolution and we'll amend the development agreement to include those dates if council sees fit to do that. One other reminder just is that the Board of Elections, as confirmed, will be on, we'll have the term limit referendum on March the 16th of 2021. That's currently the scheduled date for that election. So if there are any questions, end of report.
Any questions for Mr. Coyne? Thank you, Mr. Coyne.
Welcome.
Moving along to the police department, Mr. Nguyen will report on behalf of the police department.
Yeah, the chief submitted 3 items for approval at the council meeting. The first is for TAC management for $12,260.52. TAC is the company we've been using. They provide our records and data management software and customer service, and that's the cost of the service agreement for that service. Next is Agile Network Builders for $14,880. They're the company that provides our backup service and connectivity for our 2 dispatch stations. It's $620 a month per station for 12 months. And it's the same cost that it's been for the past 3 or 4 years. And last is a contract with Motorola Solutions. This is the maintenance agreement on the actual dispatch equipment itself. So this is the 4th year of a 4-year agreement, and the cost of that is $30,560.65.
Any questions for Mr. Nguyen? Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. On to the service department. Keeping Mr. Nguyen pretty busy. He's reporting on behalf of the service department as well.
Yep, first item is the renewal is the expenditure for Camco cleaning, which is the janitorial service for the Civic Center and the community room. we have a 3-year contract with them that started with July 1st of 19, goes through June 30th of 22. It's a fixed fee contract at $14.10 a month for each facility. So the cost of that for a year is $33,840. We've been using that for the Civic Center also with the whole COVID situation. We have not used them in the community room because the community room hasn't been used. We're currently using our own employees to take care of the community room. We'll continue doing so until the community room again is open for access to the public. And then the final item is an MOU with Cuyahoga Soil and Water. We've been using them since 2018. This is an annual contract we use annually. They provide the professional services for construction and post-construction inspections of anything that goes on in the village to make sure that the stormwater rules are being followed. So, so they're the company that gets involved with like Montebello, for example, to make sure that they're following the stormwater rules throughout the whole process of the building of that development. And the cost of that per year hasn't changed. It's $13,000 per year.
Any questions for Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, has the Camco Cleaning Company adjusted their fees for not doing the community room this year?
Yeah, they do. When we do not use them, we do not pay them. So we haven't, for the community room, we probably have not paid them since May or June of last year. But we're still going to ask for approval of the expenditure in the event for when we do switch over and start using them again. But
okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Are there any other matters that come before council? Since there are no other matters, the meeting is adjourned. It's 7:47 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, good night.
See you.
Good night.